Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. Got some feedback. Yeah, so we're going to be going live in 20 minutes. It's going to be a very different stream to usual, so I'm quite excited about it. Going to get some people in and check their mics and stuff in the next 20 minutes. But yeah, 20 minutes is when the proper stream will start. Hey everybody. We do a bit of an audio check now. So my audio level's looking alright. I might turn it up a little bit. And we've got a few coaches and characters joining. So Benji, you're here?
No, I think I'm probably fit into the characters category.
Indeed, Benji, from the UK. And then Val, are you here?
Yeah, hi everybody. This is Val from Oakland, California.
Nice. Let me just tweak that a little bit. And then Kim, we've got Kim.
Hi, this is Kim from Germany. I'm the comic relief character.
Brilliant. Kim coming from Goldfingers. Joe, you here?
Yep. Joe Marmerstein, calling in from Cleveland, Ohio.
Nice. Born in Cleveland, Ohio. And then Luke, you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I think today I'm going to self-identify as a coach. Maybe another day I'll identify as a character.
Excellent. And then Noah, you around?
Yeah, I'm around. Also identifying as a character and from Brighton, England.
Brilliant. Okay, and then back to Benji because gradually I changed all the volumes. So Benji, you still here?
Yeah, still here.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone.
Excellent. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So we got loads of people in Discord, as you just heard, and I want to send the Discord link out as well in case because I've shared word kind of going around the world about this happening, and that there could easily be more coaches and stuff who are tuning in, who have got experience with Hex and at some point may be interested in like chiming in and being like, yeah, actually, I'll get on the voice. And at the moment we're running with the idea of the more the merrier, and I'm very happy to kind of like take a quieter role, much quieter role, and we'll kind of see how it goes. But what I'll do now is I'll post the Discord link in the YouTube channel. So I mean that's a good thing to kind of join anyway, but particularly if you're interested in joining the voice chat on the stream. And then people on the stream, I'm going to share my screen so you'll have like you won't have to deal with like delay. You'll just see what I'm seeing. I'll probably play it through like normal speed and then like super fast and then kind of slow, that kind of stuff. Noah's helping out as a beekeeper in the Discord. Sweet. Valley.
Great story about bees.
Sorry?
Great story about bees.
You've got a great story about bees. Okay, go ahead.
So my grandfather, he was an eccentric Welshman. For a period, he and his wife, they lived up in Yorkshire, but living in Rotherham is not exactly ideal beekeeping conditions. It's a very industrial town, so it's not great for that. So he used to have to take his bees to the moors in order to cross-pollinate and do various bee things. The problem with that, obviously, is that at the time he didn't have a car, so he just used to take his hive of bees on the bus to the moors with him.
What?
Genuinely, that's a genuine story. He was a real character.
I was imagining like they're in a box and maybe he just had them like under like his coat, just like opens up the coat and there's just bees in his armpits.
How many of you are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep still.
I saw a guy take a pigeon on a Brighton bus and convince the bus driver that the pigeon he was holding had no chance of flying away. I was unconvinced, but I didn't hear any noises from the pigeon, so maybe it was correct.
Hex Party, yes, alright, we've got Russ Allen in the chat. Finding some activity. Looks like we've got Darth Reg for the chat name today. Names, which is pretty cool. I'm just loading up the image. Okay, cool. We'll take a little break. Let's see who's in the chat. It'd be quite cool. Get chatting now. And we'll be back probably doing more voice checking and stuff in 5 minutes. Stream for real will start in 10 minutes. Come join on Discord in the meantime. Right, see you soon. enjoy Felix Ultimate videos, and you can find bonus content at patreon.com/FelixUltimate. This is where you can see the best clips from live streams, get early access to upcoming YouTube analysis videos, see behind the scenes material, and me to analyse footage of you playing. Patronage is the way I can continue doing what I'm doing. So if you value today, there's even a tier if you just want to watch more videos of my cat Rue, and we all know that's the real reason you're here. Okay, everybody, we are about to go live. It's just gone 5 o'clock. Hello, Benji and Russ in the chat. We've got plenty of people joining on Discord. It's going to be an exciting one. So Alt-Tab to the screen now. We are about to go live. Hopefully we won't have a big black screen in the top corner. I've played the video, so hopefully it'll like update it immediately. Okay, here we go, going live. Oh. Full start, full start. Okay, I hope the camera's lined up now. Alright, here we go. Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. I am Felix from Felix Ultimate. We've got Rue in the bottom corner there. Today we're going to have a bit of a different stream to usual, right? So for a start, I've got my special hat on, which, I don't know, special points if you can tell me what film this is from in the chat. So today it's Group Hex, right? Which is basically I'm going to play loads of like hexagon offense footage, and lots of people in Discord, mostly coaches and characters, are going to break it down, look at the pros and cons, analyze it, and people in chat can ask questions. And yeah, it's just a hexagon offense kind of focused session. All right. So there's a Discord link in the chat if you want to come and join on Discord. I will hopefully be taking a bit of a backseat and letting the conversation roll. So I'd like everybody in Discord. We've got like about 8 people. Could you all introduce yourselves, please, starting from the top?
I'll be me, going alphabetically. Benji Reese back on the stream after appearing a couple of weeks ago with Parzo. Excited to be watching some actual Ultimate this time and not just a fight.
Yeah, if you just keep going down the list.
Yeah, Val, you too.
Val, are you here? No intro from Val. Kim?
Anyway, then we skip Val. I'm Kim Kielsen from the Goldfingers in Germany. Yeah, played with for like 3-4 years now. And on this Oakland to seat for 1 game or 2 with Felix. I'm glad to see some interesting clips.
I'm Joe Marmerstein. Play and coach in the U.S. in Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know about necessarily everyone else's background here, but I've never played or coached Hex. I've played against Hex, I think, but definitely I think we'll be trying to learn a little bit more about it from that perspective today.
My name's Luke Verdicchio. I've been playing Ultimate since 2012. And I currently live, play, and coach in London in the UK.
Hi, my name's Noah. I also live in Brighton, like Felix, and yeah, I've been on the stream and go through games of Revolution and South Spills, but interested to go over some Hex footage this time.
Hi everybody, this is Val. I play internationally for many years. Now I live in Oakland, California. And I was youth director for Disc Association in San Francisco, and now I run Oakland Ultimate, a youth club. And we introduced Principle X 2 years ago, and now we kind of move full into the philosophy.
All right, brilliant. If anyone else on Discord wants to say hi, then now's your chance. If not, we'll get on with the footage.
Is Travis around?
Okay.
Travis?
How's it? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Loud and clear. Short but sweet from Travis.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, sorry, my Wi-Fi is very bad. I don't even know.
Okay, got
Sweet. I'm not going to say much more.
all right. Infer from that what you will. All right, let's get into the footage. And yeah, I'll just let you guys take it away.
Far side, McDonald is gone. The huck, but it's low. What a catch. And Marie.
Excellent. So what have we got now? Hammertron Prime versus Spain Invaders. This is right on the other side of the world to us, isn't it? Is this Australia, New Zealand? I can't remember which one, shamefully.
This is New Zealand, yeah. So yeah, Hammertron picked up third at New Zealand Mixed Nationals, and they've got like 3 filmed games. It has loads of games over there were filmed for Nationals. Country very lucky that they'll be able to play Ultimate a lot soon, I guess. So
was this a zone setup from the defense, or were they just trying to poach because of the Hex setup? I can't tell. It's like
yeah, I think a lot of teams tried to play zone against Hammertron's Hex setup, and actually I think I've looked at quite a lot of the Hex footage, and I think that teams did a better job when they were playing more like poachy match offense. There are a lot of really good throwers on this Hammertron team, and they're great at moving the disc from side to side, and that's in part due to the Hex principles.
Interesting to me that teams kind of play against the Hex offense, partly because when they see teams playing that kind of spread out style, they're so used to that happening when they play zone on defense. So it's almost like you kind of default to it. It's like, oh, they're doing that on offense. That must mean that we should be doing this on defense.
Mm-hmm. And Hammertron as well were like playing zone, I think, pretty much every point of their stream games. So, like we're in that mindset, and maybe teams feel like they're doing a similar thing, like a 2-3-2 zone, which is a pretty popular zone, might be the best way to try and shut them down.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next clip unless anyone's got something specific to say about this one. I noticed, I quite liked at the end here, when he gets it here, he faces completely infield, and it almost draws the defenders around this way, so then he can like re-attack into the front corner, rather than looking at the place he wants to attack. Kind of look away from it. AJ enjoys the hat. What film is it from though? It looks pretty cool on camera, doesn't it? It works quite well. Alright, here's the next clip. This is Netherlands beach men's masters at Worlds against Sweden.
How did the Dutch men's masters, how did they get into playing Hex? It seems like a they play it very well, despite the fact that I haven't really seen it that on beach, because Hex was designed with 7 players in mind. Obviously, the principles still hold, but
so Sjoerd Druven, or Sjoerd Druven, he was their coach, and I think he had seen the content, and so he then got the team doing it. And then David Sparks, who is the one dribbling in the middle here, he's also very kind of influential in spreading it through the team. But there might be, there's probably some other bits and pieces that I don't know about.
What I love about this clip is the position of the bouncers you need for such a continuous dribble from their own line to the end zone to the other side. The position of the bouncers, they readjust. They don't make much movement, but they create so much possibilities for the dribbler to move. Here the number 5 sees, okay, he goes straight to the middle, I'll move given the space in the middle, and then I readjust behind him, give him the next option. It's just very good to see. On left side, on the right side. I mean, it's very good for a Hex flow to go to the middle, because the most options to play with. It's brilliantly executed in this, I think.
That one bit there where Sparks holds it for probably about 5 or 6 seconds is the longest kind of individual possession of the point, I think. They kind of form into a more their end zone set. I like the way that when it doesn't work, his look is then to bounce it outside and get the disc moving again. This is just a lovely over the top without lefty. It's a beautiful throw. This is where he's just it gets stagnates a little bit.
They transition into like a vertical in the end zone. Looks like.
That looks very good.
Maybe is why it kind of stagnates. It falls into more of that classic vertical stack offense, like looking for that break throw or that.
Yeah, he doesn't. There's like a short pass here that he doesn't risk. I've seen lots of turnovers on those kind of short passes, but then I think like this player here maybe could come back immediately, and he's looking over there. But everyone does seem to be piling into the end zone, and I've noticed that when you get near the end zone, a lot of people like to pile in there. Whereas I think if he'd stayed out maybe and they'd come around a bit, then they potentially could have carried on the flow.
I mean, I think you see that in like vertical stacks as well, like when there's almost like a mode of when you get the disc up towards the end zone and you stack up in the end zone, that everyone's trying to fight not to go back and and move back outside of the end zone, because you're losing ground and you want to get the score in quickly, and maybe there'd be like less disconnection between the handlers and the cutters if you were more comfortable moving that in the stack outside the end zone, even if you have got the disc quite close to the end zone already.
Yeah. So
It's just me, or the red disc look awkwardly small?
They're playing with the guts disc.
So this footage is from Europeans 2014, I believe. And this is the Brighton City team. And this is the last day of the tournament.
This clip is when Hex when you first started coaching it and playing it. This is what we used to SOCO, which was basically our code for move it backwards. The idea being, of course, keep the disc moving, constantly change the angles of attack, but by going backwards as well, you then open up that deep space to then attack to.
Yeah, SOCO, right? It's that is kind of what's happening here, I think. So you can see the player that scores is just here, right? And you see after they advance the disc up, and then this time right up to the front corner, let's attack it. Now here, like instead of then, just looking to that front corner and everyone piling towards the end zone, a lot of them do actually. But then Rich over here receives, Edgar throws a leading dump pass, right? And then I'm shouting we're all shouting, like, clear the end zone, get out of the end zone, and move all the players back. And so you see, even the deepest players are, like, cutting under hard, right? And we've gone from right outside the end zone. Now everybody's coming under, but then we're able to then reverse the play, and the deep cut comes from here. And actually then it's a long throw, even though we were just on the end zone line. Now there's like a long throw for the score.
This is kind of the antithesis of what we see, we talk about like the famous Japan one where they just don't play defense to half field, take away the deep shot. And this is not obviously intendedly meant as a counter attack. So it's the same principle, when you're that close to the end zone, you don't have that deep space to attack. So by moving it back, you kind of give yourself a couple more options.
And the defenders completely change their positioning as the disc comes back. When the disc is close to the end zone, all of the defenders look ready to sprint into the end zone to block a pass that will go there. But when the disc moves back, they're all just chilling and not expecting an end zone shot. None of them are ready to cover that deep cut.
Because obviously your defense is usually predicated on stop them scoring, stop them marching down the field. So how do you want to go the opposite way? Do you let them have it, knowing that it might open things up, or do you kind of really try and knuckle down on it to stop movement? The risk being, of course, that then you over pursue, you allow that space upfield that you were previously trying to defend.
Yeah, it's a good question. You can see me here saying like, that's it. Look, we moved it all the way back, and then we just threw it back, threw the long one forward. It's that easy. All right, so now we're back onto Hammertron Prime, New Zealand, who interestingly will be able to start training just like normal very soon. And this is their semi-final. They went down a lot of points at the beginning.
we address one question in the chat before we...
Yes, go ahead. I'll play through this a few times so people can gather their thoughts whilst you answer the question.
Yeah, okay, here's Hakan Lastad. He asked, what's the optimal setup for 5-man side? So, I assume playing Hex with 5 persons. Well, I don't have a really good answer for that, because my experience was when we played 5-on-5, for example on Beach, we played it like Hex, left out the 2 most distant positions from the disc person. So afterwards, it's free-flowing movement in hex style, so there's no setup in terms of setups in Ultimate 1.0, you would say.
You might have to just move your mouth a little bit closer to the microphone there, Kim. It's cutting out occasionally.
Okay.
Interesting, because I think we
Basically,
Sorry, go ahead.
you Benji.
I was just going to say, when we've tried it a little bit indoors, like it was the pitches that weren't wide enough to do like a 2-3 without those two furthest players, deepest players. So we did a kind of a bow and arrow style thing. I haven't really done it on beach, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I've played a lot of like 2-1-2, like imagine the hex shape, but you're kind of chopping off the wings, the side players, and it puts like a lot of onus on that hat player, right? Because they're like the connection between the backfield and towards the end zone. But that can definitely work more if you're playing like indoor sized pitches that are narrower.
One other thing we tried was filling up a pentagon with an imaginary left-out position in the middle of the pentagon.
The reason I don't like the pentagon is because it's you then don't have equal distances between players, which can mess with the rhythm a little bit, but also just kind of warps the shape in its like very structure. But then, you know, maybe I'm a bit prejudiced against it because I love hexagons so much.
True, but you could still organize the pentagon in triangles, which builds to a hexagon shape again.
How can you organize the triangles in a pentagon into a hexagon?
Well, as I said, imagine a position in the middle where a sixth player would have been.
Oh, right, take the middle player out, right.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then you might as well just take any player out and use that space kind of dynamically.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I tried to say.
Right, okay, right. So, okay, yeah. Pentagon makes me think just of that, you know, 5 around the edge, 1 in the middle. But obviously it's 5 aside we're talking about anyway. So I should just keep my head down and keep playing the video through.
I think it's an interesting question to think about, because I think one thing that a lot of people ask questions about, and probably the thing about Hex that I'm still the most unclear about, is like the importance of the hex shape itself. Like, I understand where the idea for the hex comes from, and the triangles and the, you know, keeping people evenly spaced, but like when you post on Reddit, one of the comments you get all the time is like, oh, well, how is this different than just like a host stack? You know, like, what's the difference between the shape versus just like the style of play, saying way we're attacking with give and goes and dribbling and, you know, turning in field and that sort of thing, compared to how important is it that you have a hexagon versus a host stack shape that, you know, sort of morphs as you go anyways?
I think my answer to that question would be that the hex shape like limits the possibility of players becoming like inactive and allowing you know, defenders to poach off, right? You know, if you get the disc into the handlers on the side, to the handlers on either side of a host stack, then the cutter on the far side and the handler on the other side are like often fairly inactive and not particularly looked at, right? So from any hex shape, it's 2 passes to another position through the hat, or 3 or up to 3 passes around the outside. So we're just trying to. I
would say it's still 2 passes, even in a host stack. I still think 2 passes gets there quickly.
But those are 2 passes through the handlers, whereas hex is 2 passes to anyone.
And
Like,
most host stacks are like gonna initially look at moving the advancing the discs through the 4 players upfield, and then, you know, like, I don't know, what's the end of this point? It's going to be difficult to move it in 2 passes if you've got that like 5 seconds of looking upfield that gives you a lot more time, you know, for the disc to swing around the host stack.
I mean, with any
but I guess that's... Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that with any setup, obviously you've got different ways of playing it, because you have, for example, vertical offense that are very regimented. You know, from the back, that person gets it, dump it off, everyone get back into position, and then more we'll just start there, and then everyone kind of around and create motion off that initial setup. You know, there are different ways of playing it, but yeah, maybe Hex is more naturally predisposed to that kind of pinball style.
Yeah, my answer will be more like is the switch of the movement of the disc. So think more like about how you play a keep away compared to a more directional vertical game.
Another, I think, related question.
We'll just go on to the next clip quickly. Just I'll introduce the next clip, and you can ask the question. So next clip, we've got Stephen's Institute of Technology playing at college sectionals, I think. Okay, off you
go. The question basically is, with regards to maintaining the shape, you're an individual player is moving. How do you, like, how much are you balancing? I need to be moving in to maintain the shape versus like trying to, I don't know. I'm having trouble describing.
Flowchart. Get the flowchart up, Felix.
Is there a flowchart for cutters as well?
Yeah, it's in the same thing.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
Okay, let me just rewind this whilst I find it.
I've got the weird scenario of Felix in both corners of the screen.
Yeah.
Google hex movement decision tree.
I think that it's quite similar to like the like static hex what happens question, Joe, that like comes out quite a lot. And you know, like from the like ideal hex setup, then it's quite a useful thing to deform the shape slightly, like with one of the wings going deep or something like that, like to prompt other cutters to be like, oh look, there's another hex position that I could occupy and try and receive a disc in, and then that sort of like creates a chain reaction of cutter movement. So like maintaining that hex shape is important, but you know, it can, I've definitely seen times when people play hex where you get into a really good shape, and then especially when it comes off on a dead disc, and then everyone wants to stay there because they're too focused on the shape in a way, and really would just rather get things moving.
Exactly.
So I hadn't realized that this had a whole branch.
Yeah, like the whole right hand side, right? Sweet. Okay, should I get it off the screen now?
Like real quick, the big one that I think stands out to me in terms of answering my question is the thrower looking at you, yes or no, as being one of the big sort of decisions. Like if the disc is moving and the thrower is looking at you to potentially make a cut, then you prioritize making a cut, as opposed to if they're not looking at you, then you prioritize creating space. It's a pretty good summary of what my question was getting at.
Cool. Back to the fridge.
Exactly. It's like a two-step plan. We always talk about the shape as an orientation, but not a limit to this. So you basically, if you're involved with the disc with double pass or dribblings, you're involved. You will behave naturally, like make a cut here, make a fake there, go. But if you're not involved, you get to the second step and look, all right, where's the form moving? Where's the shape moving towards to? And how could I position myself to be active in the next few passes? So it's always destroying and reshaping.
Yeah, my take is also if you want everyone get involved and everybody able to handle and move the disc be close and be in a X shape is kind of become natural or functional. So if you think about bees, they don't think about hexagon shape, right? But the way they function, they let do they behave in the X shape because it's natural. So I think that this problem about we need to stay in this shape versus more like hey, we need to stay close and everybody be active, so naturally will become some kind of hexagon shape.
I love it. We've got Jason in the chat. Jason's coach of this team, right? Or yeah. So if you want to join in Discord as well, Jason, then you're welcome. Has anyone got any specific thoughts about this clip, which I think I've done a video on before? Yeah, of course I have.
So yeah, they use like a rotation, don't they, to get free, which is something when you like had highlighted, the 3 connected players, and then there was almost like each took up each other's space, which is a strategy that can be really helpful when you've got to that like stall 2-3 point where there's not an immediate open pass, you can't look back to the thrower. I think Steven's used it like as the disc come in, right?
Do you want me to put the footage to any particular point?
Where you had like the one player in the middle of the field looking down, you had like 3 options off him.
Is that at the beginning of it? Or where I drew it on?
Yeah, where you drew it on before.
Okay, yeah, that was the beginning. Let's see. Because I mean, that for me, that's like you can tell that you're kind of got a good start to shape, like this kind of position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oops, that's a different drawing. Yeah, because those 3 options mean that the throwers immediately got stuff to work with. It's just a good beginning of the structure. Then ideally you'd have one like over here, and then the other 2 in this kind of area for the completion of all the triangles.
Definitely like that. The position of the player on white on the right side of the frame like reminds me a lot of watching Hammertron, because they often have players like on the far side that get a little disconnected from the shape, but the players around the shape around the disc tend to do a better job in terms of like maintaining spacing between players. So I think just to be aware, and maybe those players are looking towards the deep space, or recovering from a deep cut or something like that, and just being like comfortable with getting back in line with the disc across the field, something that often you wouldn't do in conventional ultimate, maybe in a host stack.
Okay, should we go on to the next clip?
I think that Jason said in the comments that we had a lot of problems with cutters, quote unquote, peeling away from the backspace this year. That's the same thing that you were just talking about. Sounds like it might be.
Yeah,
like over rotation from players, away from the disc.
Yeah, it's like when too many players have a tendency to just kind of do what they would normally do with like head down, going down the middle of the field, like into a stack. Like when the disc is on the sideline, a lot of players will just run downfield of the disc down the middle, when in fact most players have to actually come back in hex. That can be a habit that needs to be broken out of. So this is now Outbreak Mountain versus Hot Chili in Australia. Oh, very, very fast. Oh, this is a very, very short clip.
Good technique from the throwers, especially to get the disc out. I think on the second pass, the force almost gets in the way, but the throw is released. Oh, it's not that close. Not that close in slow motion. In real time, it looked a bit quicker. But yeah, the defense is always on the back foot.
Yeah, we'll go on to the next. It's the next clip, I think. TJ has this. Oh, TJ's got this hat. Oh, brilliant. TJ, I was going to mention him actually, because in that last clip, Oh, here we go. It's another Outbreak Mountain clip. In that last clip, like TJ is quite often the one that's like getting the disc back in his hands, and the team kind of know that and they rely on it, and that might tempt cutters to peel off because they're like, oh, TJ will be there, he'll get the disc. But then you do see in Hammertron a bit, like Vaughan Wilson maybe, and he'll go deep. Like he'll keep the disc alive, and then he'll go deep, and like suddenly the offense is like, oh, we should really be throwing it deep. It's like, maybe spread the disc a bit more, but like you need to be aware of the different, abilities and roles that players have on the team as well. It's a bit of overcrowding down the sideline here, so you can always like just draw like around the players. So you got like the reset there, which is fine, but really it should be like hat here, and then this player should be like the furthest forward almost. So, and you see these two players are doing what I said of just like clearing out down the middle, when in fact you need to actually like try and get over here, and this player maybe come over here to make space for these players.
I think it's one of those things where normally when you're taught to clear out, you're taught to just get away to open up that underneath space, because that's how most offenses are structured. That you clear out, you clear away from the disc, don't come. Those are the spaces we want to hit. But obviously, in different where it depends where the space has to be and where the disc is.
Felix, do you mind if I just mention something I've tried?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is as well in South Africa. We've had this problem where everyone over rotates to the forward aspect of the field. Initially what I tried was calling a specific call. I mean, I know that like sometimes the end zone players have calls and stuff like that, so I thought maybe that's something we could do every time. So because we didn't want to make it too obvious, we were doing hex. We, instead of saying rotate, we used to say spin. And often some people would get that as a catalyst and they would rotate backwards, but it wasn't obvious enough. And the biggest one where we struggled was also when the disc would turn on the sideline and we would have essentially everybody running deep, which is obviously not the point. You want to isolate those two deep cuts. You want to have your horizontal setup in direction with the disc, and you want the two back. So what would generally help is also either using the sideline or using yourself as someone with the disc, calling out positions for certain players as you approach the disc or as someone's approaching the disc, and that would often, it's not the ideal way, but it would more often lead to a better hex setup than because people would, I think, yeah, as you said, the instinct is everybody, okay, cool, clear the space, run deep, go for a huck option or whatever, or go into my vertical stack setup. But if you start doing cues more often, it would help. And the one way we'd practice this, I don't know if everybody knows about the mingle game. So we would do a mingle game in the middle of the field and then claim an offense, a defense, and throw the disc around. And part of that was just practicing the communication of, okay, cool, disc is on the defending end zone, set up, go. And so there are a few things, and it doesn't always work, but those are some ways we tackled those specific problems. Because often, at least the more experienced players, they're more set in their ways and they're more used to be like, okay, cool, I'm not near the disc, I'm clearing out, going to set up a vertical, even though we're in a hex format. Anyway, I don't know what you guys think about those kind of options. I arrived late, so maybe you've discussed some of the stuff already.
I love the idea of using mingle to help train anything. So sign me up.
It definitely works. It's the most communicative your team's ever going to be. They forget it during a game, obviously, as often. But as long as a couple people remember that, because the way, like, for me, the end zone vertical stack, maybe some of you played in South Africa, but our end zone games, especially in the lower tiers, are very chaotic. and we always talk about, everybody on the team has the responsibility to set up a vertical stack or a side stack or whatever in the end zone. So it's a similar type of mentality. And also with the Hex, what I like about it is, even if you're not a handler usually, or you maybe have average throws, you can still pick up the disc, or you can still be back, even if it is just for that one pass, just to start the flow. And it's about encouraging people to get out of that box of like, well, you're a cutter, so you need to get the fuck out of here. And yeah.
Yeah, that's why we use these different terms instead of cutters and handlers. Getting the generators, dribblers, and bouncers. And
those have been pretty useful.
This progression, because in the first place you're a bouncer. You get the person to catch the disc and give it immediately back. So you contribute to the point, and that's a good concept to evolve in this way.
Kim, I'm sorry, you'll have to repeat that because David Sandoval subscribed and it played a jingle and I couldn't hear you.
Man, I missed the jingle.
Yeah, sorry. So you got a sacrifice. But yeah, you'll have to repeat what you said because I don't think anyone in the stream heard.
What I said was, I like this progression you have when you play Hex. You start out as a bouncer, even if you're a complete beginner. So you're basically a position where the dribbler can pass to and get a pass back immediately. So basically a stationary point for the dribbler to be not stationary. Yeah. While in conventional Ultimate, you have the handlers who make one pass and get in a power position, and then they are static for some time. You have multiple pass points which you can work, and that's not difficult for a beginner to learn, to get the disc and pass it back to the person exactly where it came from. It's a great progression. As soon as you develop your skill with the disc, you can become the next dribbler. And then afterwards, you have this position where you are the generator who starts these movements, which I think is still one of the more difficult points in this progression.
And it's about like, if your team learns to trust that, then you start seeing amazing results. I mean, you get special players. I mean, I know I get stuck in the static situation sometimes myself, but I always try and encourage my teammates, if I'm being that lazy, handless mentality, just tell me to clear out. And sometimes it's as simple as that, and suddenly the flow gets going again. And it's that level of trust is so important, because just even when the defense is tight and for some reason it's not working, sometimes just you clearing out can get the flow going again. And I think that's just with the generator and the bounce and all that kind of just getting, as soon as you get that flow going, doesn't matter who's near you or who's getting the disc. Yeah.
So do you mind going back to that previous clip for a second? Because I think there's a couple examples in this clip that I think are somewhat common in Hex and way less common in other offenses. And it's when a player catches the disc for basically no gain, and they're kind of cutting in between two players. Like even that first throw is like kind of a really short throw in terms of vertical yards. Most offenses wouldn't really take. And I think there's another one coming up here in a second. I'll say something when it gets there. I think not quite yet. I think it swings over to the near sideline and then happens maybe.
So video is just taking its time. Hang on. There we go.
I thought that was intentional, like slow motion.
Okay, I think it's right here that it happens. Maybe, maybe not.
There was one earlier that it might have been. I'll play this.
Okay,
out.
I think it's this one right here. It's this one right. Yeah, like that. That one is a great example. Like in most offenses, you just don't make that cut, right? Because that's the handler space. Like you don't go in there. And the result of that is that defenders don't really guard it. Here, the whole idea is that you create flow off of that pass. I think like when there's that discussion on Reddit about, oh, well, you just stay tight matchup defense and you just defend this one option and that takes it away. It sort of ignores the fact that you're giving your offense more options by not giving yourself as many rules, basically, about where you shouldn't cut.
Because a lot of these passes would be considered like pointless if you didn't have the idea of flow in mind, right? Just from this little sequence,
right? And that's one of the biggest things that when I've played against teams that have played Hex, and in my experience, when I've played against those teams, they are teams that are way less skilled than the team that I'm on. So it can be frustrating, when it's like halftime and it's a close game, or we've even been down to teams that we know we're better than. It's like hard to flip that defensive mentality of understanding how the offense is attacking things differently, and not normally you'd as a defense you'd give up those cuts and have no problem. You have to make that adjustment. It can be pretty difficult.
So Valerio, I think this is your team's playing here, training game.
Yeah, this is a U17 team, so that was interesting to me. Show also how the kids are starting and adjusting to this quick movement and next approach. So this is just a third training we were doing with the X, so there was a lot of mistake, but you can see how they switch quickly from the high school where play vertical stack and cut from the back, from move the disc quickly. Here we were having a stall 6, so they were playing under the stall 6, but yeah, you can see some of the shape and how they really try to move this quickly and have different option.
Would anyone like to do some analysis of this? What they're doing well, and what could they improve on, kind of stuff?
And the high score ultimate is crazy. So good.
Yeah. Luke, we haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, I was just looking at the movement of the players off the disc in this clip. There's a lot of movement, probably a bit too much movement by these downfield players. And I think they got a bit lucky that the defense didn't just stand still more. I think if the defense stood still more, they would have been shut down a bit. But the defenders seemed quite keen to just follow their players, and there was enough free options for this to keep moving. But I mean, it's pretty good for the third time that they've played this.
Let's have a look at that bit where a bit of flow breaks out here. Kind of what generates that inside break, and then just a couple of continuations. So these continuations, so that's the throw. The continuations are because people are in good spread hex setup. Over here, you got the second back. So when he gets it, then there's multiple options around, and you can basically keep hitting them.
Thinking about the decision tree, if it's not going back to where it's come from, it's can you continue it in that direction? Can you keep that flow moving?
Can you continue the flow?
I think something else worth noting is initially when the players back were struggling to move the disc forward, most of the players were a bit too deep, and then when the flow starts, suddenly the it's not necessarily clumping up, but you can see that because you see all that stretching. It's quite deep every time another person gets the disc, and then the hard cuts have to come in, and it's not necessarily it's too risky. But when they start getting a bit closer together and into that hex shape a bit better, that's when you start seeing you start seeing the movement. And I don't know if that's maybe because the disc goes to the sideline and maybe they're thinking, okay, we need to rotate back a bit, and so a lot of people come back. So I don't know what subconsciously changed there, but that definitely helped the flow.
There's an advanced concept which I haven't figured out how to explain properly yet, which is about the relative velocities of your players, whether your players are generally going faster when they go towards the disc or away from the disc, right? Or under or deep. And if you're finding that on the field you're seeing the movement be a lot faster going under, and then slower going deep, and then that usually means your players are hanging out too deep, right? They're setting up their cuts, getting ready to cut under. And then vice versa, if all the deep is fast deep and then slow coming under, that means they're too close to the disc, which is very rare. But
that's a cool way to think of it.
As a balanced offense, then the relative velocities or whatever, however you describe it, it should be equal, right? It's all about balance.
I want to get really nitpicky with one part of this flow here. It's a few passes forward. It bounces back towards them, and then it gets on this inside
break.
I think it's this one here. It's just a little thing. Would you rather have him be turning kind of the other way, rather than rotating kind of anti-clockwise, going clockwise?
Yeah.
As he's got the disc, just so we can pop that off a bit quicker than instantly looking downfield.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. He's like turning away because he does turn like almost more than 180. In order to make that pass, and I teach this in drills as well. Don't take your eye off that person that you're going to throw to. So I think you're right. He could just turn to the right here rather than do that spin. Yeah, good nitpicking. That's what the stream's for.
I think this is part of especially if you come from other offenses. Generally when you get the disc, if there's not an immediate issue, if you normally get the disc underneath and then you turn you look upfield to try and find more yard gaining continuations.
Yeah, that's the traditional.
As to just getting it and moving it.
So here you can see also a struggle for the two players that are kind of on.
I can't hear you. Maybe you'll have to put your mouth.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
So interesting to see how the two deep in terms of the guys that are in the shape that are more through the end zone, they are kind of stay there and they are not really rotate that much. And I think that's a typical problem you see when you move into the X movement.
Yeah, Philadelphia Phoenix actually played Hex for a while, and the camera wasn't great, right? The camera was like quite close to the thrower and stuff, but I never even saw the players that were deepest because they still had the cutter mentality. Right, I'm a cutter, I'll stay downfield in my area down here, rather than actually cycling through the positions. So I think you're right that that's something that takes a bit of adapting to. Should we go on to the next clip? Okay, we've got Smog versus Sugar Mix. Should be a familiar clip to people that watch my videos.
The commentary on this is hilarious.
Okay, I'll turn the commentary.
Just building on that comment, sorry. I had a mouthful of food. So often with my team, if we didn't get Hex scoring within a few passes of being in that last quarter attack of the end zone, we would just create a vertical stack system from that point of view, which not necessarily helped, but it would at least create some sort of space creation, because we always would struggle in that for those exact same reasons. When you get closer to the end zone, if you haven't scored, people start not knowing how to react, how to create space. They've lost the deep space because the end zone ends. So that's definitely something that's worth thinking about, or at least discussing here, because that's definitely something at least I've struggled with, and I know other teams have struggled with regarding. And I've always used a vertical stack as a fixer, but not the conventional one. We do cut from the front type, but yeah.
I'm just going to play through this this clip with commentary whilst people think about that. So if we just stay quiet for this one.
Here. This Hex? This is Hex. It's Hex. Oh my God, it's Hex. It's Hex. It's Hex. It's Hex. Look, everyone, it's Hex. It's a hexagon in the field. I spotted it. Oh, I would be very embarrassed if I not realized that was going on. And there they are, moving to the left side of the Hex, now shooting to the end of the Hex, and it's right. It's Hex. It can't lose it. Hex.
The Hex works.
Hex works. Somewhere Felix Charlot is smiling. He's not even watching the game. He just gets this warm feeling in his soul that yes, hex.
He knows a hex is being played somewhere.
Off a timeout as well, you know. Timeout. Let's hex this one out. Oh! As the rain comes down, the hex gods smite them. We just watched it right there.
That's brilliant. And then they score a Callahan immediately afterwards.
I know, yeah.
What a clip.
It's like, yeah, you don't get the satisfaction of being a goal, but Callahan.
Banana. Yeah. The actual question is, Felix,
it's a hex
how
god on the
often
field.
do you smile? And how often do you stand there? Are they actually playing hex, or is this unintentional?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's funny. You do sometimes like see the kind of hex shape emerge in people that aren't playing hex, and it's like, oh, some good flow about to happen.
Are they self-aware?
Yeah. Or is it like the bees and they've just naturally fallen into that formation?
They were playing hex this season. The Smog were deliberately playing hex. I think they still do occasionally, but they've moved away from it.
Yeah.
Now.
It's probably the influence of you coaching people like Callum and Maz and some of the other small players, and then bringing it into club.
Yeah, I think Callum then went on to teach GB Women Hex in 2019. Okay, next clip. So after this Callahan, next clip is a funny one, right? This is Brighton. This is like we were vibing this game so good. It was like after a rain delay, and we'd all been hanging out. And
in the clubhouse.
This is the banana play. Yeah, this is the banana play. Okay.
And then very unhexed.
Yeah, which is like this is like Brighton at the height of their hex as well. So everyone's like, "What are we doing? What are they doing? Like it's some kind of trick." And indeed, it is. Check out this play.
I love that fake cut in the middle.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Everyone goes to the space, and then he's like, "Oh, I need to cut somewhere. Oh, everyone's got the space is already taken up. I guess we'll stay there."
Just like, fair enough.
The defender just goes deep for no reason.
What was that defender doing?
I love watching the defender. It's the best. He like panics and runs away. He's gone.
Oh, the mind game is so real.
So yeah, if you can't tell, that banana is basically banana split. So we immediately go straight into a hex. Vertical.
That would make sense.
So everyone knew which direction they were going to run in, and Hayden knew that he was going to stay there, but we didn't realize it was going to be completely free.
With one of the earliest training sessions I did, there's a guy who used to play at Sussex and played a bit with Brighton, a guy called Nitu, who might necessarily mean not to a lot of people, but he said part of the reason he got free so much was because he let everyone else do the work, and like generally if you just kind of hang about a bit and let everyone else run around, you're in that space in the middle and everyone else is cleared out. That makes my job so much easier, basically, because you just let everyone else go and play hex and you become the hat through easiness. It's great.
Yeah, stand still more.
Yeah, I got one point for this banana. You made it for you were vibing and a good time, and good idea. Let's try this. We had this as a kind of implementation of hex because we were struggling to get in motion, to get in flow, and we were before hex very heavily relying on set plays. Then we started to incorporate these set plays into a hex shape and said, yeah, all right, let's just start with this set play for the first pass, and afterwards it's hex movement. It's a good way to begin, since then, nowadays we're far away from any set plays, we'll just go with the flow, but that was our first steps into trying to get from these set plays to a hex shape.
I was going to say, Felix, when you say you were vibing, do you mean that you'd all had some beers during the lightning delay?
They may have been, but we had to create a drill that worked under the trees, like because it was raining. We were like, oh, we don't want to get wet, So there's like a line of trees. So we invented a drill that meant that we could like dribble down the line of trees and throw it along the line to the back and stuff. We were just like, it's one of those times where you spend enough time with your team that you're just all completely on the same page, and then you all buy into any idea, any suggestion, and it's just like, this is so easy and nice. Yeah, we're vibing. This is Great Britain mixed under 23 2015 in black against GB mixed seniors in white in a showcase game. It's like the stadium over here is full, quite a lot of people watching. I think GB mixed seniors won this game like 13-11 against the under 23s. And this is only after like 1 or 2 trainings where the under 23s have been training Hex and Flex, and we played Hex and Flex the entire game. And yeah,
so open.
Yeah, it's generally like really nice movement, and pretty good spacing as well.
And I would love to have this footage all the time. This drone footage. So good.
Drones done well are really useful. I've also seen a lot of footage with drones where you can't see anything. It's, but as you say, when it's done well, especially for something like this where you really want to show shape, it can be a really useful tool.
And I think GB Mixed are trying to like figure out a defense that can challenge it, but 13-11.
And that's I mean, what happens there? Like that is so open.
Well, there was one defender doing nothing.
Not defending. It's a little confused.
Yeah, breaks out.
Thinking about those 3 defenders closest towards the disc. Yeah, is that guy there. You're kind of hanging out in that space. Then I guess that defender should push over there quickly. The disc a bit earlier, but it doesn't happen.
Okay, now we got Brighton City versus Clapham. What's it, 2016? 2018? 2018 probably?
The 18. We didn't stream to a last year, so it must.
Got Benji commentating. Just a nice little setup for the huck. So the hat follows it is forward, goes through the space, just floats it out in front.
He had an absolutely monster game. Like Clapham could not contain him going deep.
Now this one's the Mohawks in one of their last points of University Nationals. 2018 maybe.
You win in 2018?
No, we won in 2017.
Okay.
We won indoors in 2020. Anyone in YouTube chat, if you've got any questions about Hex, then now is a great time to ask the panel. And then the last message doesn't have to be the one that is now. Because I keep listening to it being like blush.
Humble.
Forget you can subscribe on Patreon to give Rue a treat.
Yes. Yeah. No.
Or, give a donation.
Yeah. I'll have to coordinate when I open the treat drawer. She'll no doubt wake up and jump up. So I'll have to go and get the camera and come back.
Got double Felix there as well.
Creator. So I feel more of like a discoverer of Hex because it's so simple, just like triangles, which exist in other sport. Okay, if we have triangles, we've got 7 people. Okay, there we go. It's a Hex. And when you look at Frank Huguenard's motion offense, even though he does mention triangles and stuff, like when he actually draws it out, it's I don't know, they're not like it's not as like clear cut and stuff. And then he focuses a lot more on movement, which I'm kind of. I think I approach it from shape because most people view offense in terms of their shape or structure. Like vertical is a vertical line, horizontal is a horizontal line. So like it made sense then for Hex to be like, right, this is a hexagon. But I think the biggest difference is probably in the movement and stuff. Anyway, I'm talking a bit too much. I want you guys to talk instead.
Job dribbling on this point. I'm assuming it's Dom.
Yeah.
I made a note.
Just like never really holds it for more than 1 or 2. He knows when to clear out for a little bit. Other people do the work, and then he gets involved again, and he's off.
My note for this clip just says confidence in disc possession.
What does it say? Progression?
Confidence in disc possession for the whole team. So
Yeah.
not even one fidgeting moment, just slicing through. And this is on the universe point, as I understood? Or
I think it's the last point. I don't think it's a universe.
Right, last point. Yeah, but still, like, you see the confidence in every person.
Upwind as well. Yeah, so most of these players will have learnt Hex from the beginning of when they started playing, and now they've been playing for like 2 or 3, maybe 1, 2 of them have been playing 4 years. And Don Burnham, who's the guy that's dribbling down the middle, he was really good at football. Yeah, soccer. And so from that background, just like came into Hex like easily. I was give going with. I was dribbling with him, bouncing with him, and everything. Give going right from like after been playing for like a couple of weeks.
I think the thing that really struck me about this point is the most effective cut here generally is like the stop cut, and we'll see it. Jake, who's number 35 there, a couple of times. Like he pushes upfield and then he just stops. The defender goes past him, and that's just enough separation to get those little quick fishes underneath.
Let me try and find that. Highlight it.
So in all of this clip, you can see how really the defense struggle to have time to adjust and find out what's going on. And I think that's the big win for such an offense right now, because the mental set of the defense are not ready for this. So they're always kind of chasing and following and try to find out a good position, a good mark, a good coverage.
And when people receive the disc in this point, almost everyone's first look, which 9 times out of 10 gets passed, is the direction they're facing. There's no like massive looks downfield that you'd see in traditional offenses. People just want to like get it going, and that's like reflective of the Hex decision tree, right? Is there someone open in front of you? And that doesn't mean that if you receive the disc coming under that you want to go and have a look downfield and see if there's a deep cut going.
It'd be really interesting to me to see defenses who are used to playing against Hex and come up against like traditional big gaining isolation, like here's our big space offenses. If you're expecting these big kind of short, quick movement passes, how could you then able to defend kind of the big isolate big receivers in space, big yardage gaining passes?
Yeah, I think that's a pertinent point. You never get like if you train, shut down your one matchup, and it's a point like that, you never really get like, that never even starts. It's never like, right, now he needs to cut, and these are the spaces that are available. It's always just like, okay, the disc is still moving. All right, the disc is going over here now, so I need to they scored. So this clip is Brighton Breezy mixed team, Brighton, maybe 2016, 2015. This could have been 2015. Playing regionals, like men's regionals. Mixed team playing in men's regionals, and they didn't always play Hex, but at this point they are.
Yes, this was the point when there wasn't a mixed region. There still isn't regionals. This was just a good warm up for them for nationals.
Manning's next level throws.
Also, that compared to a lot of the other hex we've seen, the disc seems to be being held a bit longer by a lot of players.
Yeah, so most of these players actually learnt conventional style. And they usually play conventional style.
I mean, they kind of are playing conventionally here. There's a lot of standing and looking downfield.
Famous standlers.
But like, I mean, I don't know. I'd say it's pretty. I'd say it's like better than average. This movement, like way better than average.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You had mentioned that the previous clip was going upwind. I'm curious what kind of adjustments you make going downwind, because I feel like as a defense, if the other team is going downwind, I'm just going to let you throw as many short passes as you want. And it's going to, like, when it's windy, it's higher chance of a turnover. And if you turn it over close to your own end zone, obviously that can be really bad. I'm curious if you, like, adjust the way you approach offense when you're going downwind to try to get disc downfield more quickly. Do you just play the same and adjust yourself to make those throws?
Who wants to field that question?
If it's really windy, just chuck it deep and hope for the best.
What if it's like in between windy? It's not so windy that you literally just throw it as far as you can. But it's windy enough that, like, there will be like 2 upwind breaks or something will win the game.
I guess you can be a little bit more liberal with your deep shots going downwind still. Like, anyone can cut deep from anywhere in the hex shape, and you should use that as a threat going downwind, or in any conditions where that's viable. So, not crazy upwind unless you've got a thrower who can do it, but I guess you sort of see what the defense is giving you and take it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's definitely about what the defense gives you, but I think also the spacing becomes a bit more important. So obviously, I think in conventional ultimates, when it gets windy, going downwind, you kind of spread out a bit, because you're expecting the defense is expecting you to throw deep. So you want to try and give yourself your in-cut options a little bit better. But I feel it's similar with hex. So for me, when the windier it is, the more space you want, so you can target the hat position, which is the middle cut. I don't know if we've announced this yet. That middle position in the hex. So for me, that becomes quite important, because essentially, where I play a lot of this, the downwind throw is actually not as it's enticing, but it's not always a good option, because the wind forces the disc down very fast. So a long throw not only goes really fast, it goes down faster. So it's not ideal. So what you want we try to target the middle players. So you're looking for getting to the hat or any of the 2 on the sidelines. So you want all that space. You want that isolation, so you can get to those ones and you can move the disc quite a bit downfield before you target a deep throw. So I'm not saying you don't move the disc short passes from your end zone. It's usually quite possible depending on where the disc lands in the pool. But what we try and do is we try and get it to one of those midfielders, so see if we can target a long throw after that. So try and keep it to as few passes as possible, I guess, around your end zone. Get it spread out, and then further see if you can get an attack in the deep.
Hey Felix, can you go back to the previous point, because I think that was a good example of inverted pivot.
Whereabouts in this one? Is this the right clip?
I know my clip, the clip of the previous one.
Yeah, I think if you watch on Discord, then your stream won't be delayed.
So you can see, I mean, an interesting thing here. This is the U17 team play against a college team, so they are mentally very intimidated, and the fact they can keep moving the disc and possessing, it's pretty amazing, because they tend to be very shy, and they kind of froze against team that are better and they are older. So I'm really proud of how they were moving the disc and keep control, even if the shape and a lot of things you can say about the play. But they were also looking for break side throws, and actually the break side here is open up later with a dump and swing option for invert pivot hack. So you see here that there is the inside flick, they open for the swing that side, and then a guy come in the middle, Julian, and then in middle invert pivot and throw deep. Deep hack.
Yeah, okay, yeah, nice. Yeah, there's a couple of invert pivots there.
Yeah, the one on this near sideline from number 27. I mean, he does a really good job of he's straight in field there, and that space is really clear. It's a lovely throw as well, has to be said. So easy just to get sucked into looking down that line.
And then he goes backwards immediately while his force is running upfield for no reason. And look at the separation that he's got. So if that next continuation pass wasn't there, like he's immediately available for a step 2 on the decision tree.
Let's have a look. So he releases it. Yeah, and then his defender runs away. So really, like, if this player looked back at him, then he could just get the disc going across here, and then maybe work with him going that way. That's if the disc was passed in this direction.
Maybe 27 then just would then just take the same pass that ends up being taken anyway, because that's free.
So I guess they almost get a bit lucky here because he didn't know that second swing was free. You have to turn around to see it. He should have thrown back immediately.
Yeah, because he's in front of him, right? And then it's 50-50, and the guy happens to be free.
But I guess the decision tree, you either throw to the person in front of you or you continue the path of the disc, and it's not entirely clear which one you should do at any given time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, we were practicing a lot, really throw the continuation to the opposite side, like even without looking, because there is a player. I was pushing a lot on that. You really, if you don't have any other option, you turn and keep the flow in the opposite side, and that someone is coming.
I mean, in any offense, be it vertical, horizontal, hex, stretching it from sideline to sideline, just changing those angles of attack is something that you preach. Generally, no matter what style you're playing, it's always good to keep the field stretched horizontally as well as vertically. Just so they have to cover that space laterally as well.
Got some more footage from Stevens IoT. They got some good shape going on. I've drawn on the screen in this one. Yeah, I'll let it play through a bit more. We've got plenty of footage to get through, so if you guys notice anything that you want me to rewind for, then shout out. But I want to make sure it's non-stop hex footage.
Backhand to and Ogden catches the disc, bidding hot chili defender. Eichner, beautiful forehand into space.
So this clip's interesting because quite a few players stop and turn around when they catch the disc, but flow continues the whole time. Like, this could have been done out of a vert stack.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. The classic handler strike cut much all the way down the field. You see so many, I think vertical offenses especially, that try and get that, let's really attack that handler space up the line.
I mean, I've definitely done this out of a vert stack and out of a host stack. It's just, this only works because the throwers are willing to immediately give back rather than stop and turn around. But I think the first few passes they do stop and turn around anyway.
Yeah, like here, he could easily throw this pass very early, or keep his eye on him, draw the defender across, so then when he goes up the line, he's free. But turns here, so he can't actually see him anymore, and then he appears out of the blind spot.
Compared to the dump pass that he could have just done. And the shape on his final throw is ridiculous.
When you think about how Hex offense looks, you don't think about what consistently jamming it up the sideline. In my head, that's not how it looks. I guess if they give it to you, take it.
Yeah, well, there's that theory that if you have like the Hex rotating down the side, you can always have like an undercut happening. But yeah, that's just like suggested potential movement.
Bidding hot chili defender. Eichner, beautiful forehand into space. Beautiful forehand into space.
All right, back to GB under 23 2015 mixed in black. Good spacing, apart from over here, there's a couple of players right next to each other. I remember. Say what?
There you go. It's too high for me.
Oh, you got vertigo because the camera's too high. Yeah, so there's a little bit of crowding over here at the beginning, but then he cuts away from it.
You can tell from this movement that like these players are still thinking a little bit conventionally. Like they're wanting to cut, and they want to cut in channels, like going deep and then under, and that leads to this sort of deformed shape. They get away with it because they were really good, but
yeah, it's worth bearing in mind they're playing against GB Mixed, like, so the defense is really good as well.
I think I mean that's one of the things that you can really show from the drone. Is you can see how the space, the shape, kind of, you say, warps a little bit. Like not necessarily doing a good job of staying connected to each other and maintaining those triangles. They get better at it, but definitely points where there could be better. There could be better space, or there could be better communication. Like on that big inside flick into the middle, there's two players who are cutting to the same space. That's one of the things where better communication. One of those players backs out of that cut.
Yeah, this one. Yeah,
that's the one. So that IO flick for the goal is delicious.
Yeah, and in front of the crowd as well, so you get extra points for that.
Absolutely.
Especially if you run down the field being like, Hex offense. Loads of points. This is back to Brighton City. I really like this as like a way to start the point. Playing against Brighton Legends. Just immediate penetration from the back. Yeah. I don't know why he fakes it the first time.
He's thinking we can get.
So what?
We aren't with it.
What are you saying?
I'm guessing he's thinking that maybe we can be a bit more penetrating, a bit more dangerous with that. Just looking at this pool play here, off the pool is get the disc moving, because so many teams, we want to get the disc into where we position our offense, but because a lot of the time, that first pass is, the defense isn't right there. You can get it moving a bit more than just that. Let's get it into the middle and work from there. We've got that handler movement.
What I like about this as well is it shows like the benefit of if the defense is quick to shut down the hat in the midfield, you've got that quick give-go movement, but also the white team recognizes it and starts cutting and creating space. Sometimes players might just stay, okay, no, I'm still hat, everybody stay in your positions, and they might be static downfield, but they start the flow, which I think is also quite important. People need to recognize that, because because you can get that give-go situation with a vertical stack or horizontal, and people just wait in the stack for the right moment and no flow begins. So I think it's important to notice that they start movement downfield as that give-go is going. And that helps. First, it can also help the give-go of the two move more, but it also creates better options.
Speaking of pool, I'm wondering how many of you make kind of mandatory pick up the disc in the air and put in play immediately? I mean, mandatory, of course, if you don't feel like it's a blade and you don't feel like it's okay. But generally speaking, with my team, I really push them to not only catch the disc in the air, but actually attacking the disc and gain momentum with it.
I've become a fan of catching the disc, even if it's going to be a brick. Like if it's close to the sideline, just like then it's going to float out. Just catch it anyway and throw it in field.
Yeah, I like that also from the Hex point of view, because I mean, if you can get the disc flowing sooner, because it moves into the mentality, it puts the defense off their feet. We've got a couple teams that like to throw force bricks so they can set up defense in South Africa, because they're very good at defense. And that kind of mentality shuts that down. You gain 20, 30 meters sometimes, and yeah, so I agree with that. Even if it's going brick or if it's on the sideline, keep the setup.
Just in general, get the disc and move it straight away.
Exactly, get the disc movement. I could add another thing. What my team did last national seasons was we had a third person not involved in this early give and goes, who was just watching the opponent's defense and give info to the two guys fielding the pull, how much time they have left till there's actual pressure from the opponent.
Yeah, I've seen some teams do that. It's nice.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I've seen some. Go ahead.
No, so I was just wrapping up with the pool that it was challenging to change the mentality to eventually, the goal here is put the disc in the center and gain yard, which I try to switch more like, no, the goal is actually create a flow, and actually if this is mean go to the sideline, it's totally fine. We don't need to center the disc, we don't need to gain yard.
Yeah, that's very different to the conventional idea of fielding the pull. It's amazing how prevalent that conventional idea is. It's like throw to this player here, right? And then this player would then stop and look downfield, and this person would stay as the dump. But instead, if you throw it back to them, even though that's a lot yard losing pass, you have momentum.
That previous play is we've got Edgar's going deep from the wing.
Yeah. Shout out Edgar's.
Because a lot of like you think about, like the deep player, your deepest player is usually not the player who actually goes deep, because they don't have necessarily as much space to attack. It shows that they're thinking probably having that wing defender sitting slightly under, because we've got deep players back there. I guess they just don't. They're just not paying attention. They don't pick it up. I think it's because you were actually the deepest, or like that forward position. Coming under draws the defender out, and then you put that flick into space.
Let's have another look at it.
Edgar's had a monster game this time.
Yeah, looks like actually me and Hayden are the deepest at this point, right? Everyone else is spread across, more close to the disc. Hayden comes under, and then I come under, and so the two deepest players are now under, and the deep cut comes from the far side. The deep cut can come from anywhere, but all that space has been opened up by both the deep players coming under, and the space is in the middle because everyone's spread laterally.
Flick, Felix.
So what?
Flick.
You have to put your You have to put your mouth close to the microphone or something.
Yeah, great flick.
Oh, right, thank you. Say again. I can't hear you.
I just want to blush again.
Yeah, I think I replayed that enough times.
Make Felix blush again.
Yeah. I'm really happy in this game. Okay, so again from the back, little pass. Yeah, again, we were vibing in this game. Vibing so good. Similar flick, I think. Yeah, I remember like this game felt so good to play. This was the end of Euros, so this was like for the 9th spot or whatever. I think. See, I'm just running around with my arms in the air.
Celebration.
Yeah, Edgar says that saw Felix get the disc and made the easy cut. And you can see where this cut starts from Nick as well. Like here he is here, and he's looking at me coming under as well. So he's gone to the side. He turns in again. It's from that far side, right? And he sees the undercut here, and he puts his head down and just goes.
This is like, it's an odd shaped throw because it's kind of, I mean, because it's going away from him. You know, the force kind of means that you can't step through and put that inside out on it. So it's just the outside in with a lot of touch. But you don't kind of think about like the thrower and the cutter kind of being in that same, you know, vertical or horizontal third of the field, and yet aiming for the far third. You know, usually you think about being in the middle or, you know, being one and aiming one away rather than going all the way across the field.
It should have been a hammer. Would have curled in at the right angle.
Could have been. I was just feeding those flicks, like. But yeah, I suppose the hammer is less margin for error. The thing is, like, I was like pulling my hand back, getting all the spin on those flicks, so it just felt like the disc would just sit out there and it'd be fine.
Yeah, it was a well executed throw, but the sort of conventional hucking philosophy is like to have the disc curving into your player rather than away from.
Yeah, that's true.
In which case you'd have had to have thrown a hammer.
Yeah.
Which would have been really hard.
Well, I could have put it IO on the flick, right?
Was there the space for that though?
Maybe.
Given the force and the players and.
Maybe not, but yeah, next clip anyway. We'll keep moving it on. That's my phone. Anyone heard that vibrations? Okay, I think I might go deep and score in this point. Hooray.
Should have been two hands.
Yeah, should have been
Poor
two
technique.
hands. Yeah, weak core.
Yeah.
That technique.
Should have spun round in the air and gone with your both hands.
Yeah. Jump a lot.
Well, even crab catch is high. You don't need to crab catch it.
Yeah.
But two hands.
No, it didn't feel good.
No, the one-handed catch is easier here for sure.
I think maybe I was thinking he might be bidding super high, so I might have to get that extra couple of inches. Is there anything else to note in this clip?
And this Brighton team had a lot of players on it, didn't it?
Yeah. But you can just see from our kind of movement, these are all experienced Hex players, and we're kind of like we're keeping our spacing as we're like moving around, and the stall's not really getting very high, and we're just all super chill. We weren't expected to win this game by that much. And it's not always Hayden scoring as well. Right, so now this is the 3v4 between Hammertron and Space Invaders and New Zealand Nationals. So there's a lot of the clips so far have been Hex working, and in this game I'm including quite a few clips of Hex not working. All right, so get critical.
These at the start. You say clips of Hex not working, but
yeah, not always, obviously.
Well, they almost messed it up like 3 times.
This is very, very clogged. I mean, this is what you don't want with Hex. Is you don't want to have everyone surround. You don't want to surround the disc, you know. And that's exactly what happens. It seems weird when a lot of the initiation is getting it into the hat, but then the idea is the hat moving it on quickly rather than having this everyone's nearby and everyone's enclosed, then it's just a bit of a fustercluck, really, isn't it?
Well, as soon as the disc moves to the hat, they should no longer be the hat. Everyone else should be moving around them, so that they're at the back of the shape.
Downfield player is, it's a lovely throw, but how, why are they so unconnected? Did they see that, that throw was coming and then start that deep cut early, or were they just kind of hanging out and it worked?
This was the first season that they played it. Or had they? How long have they been practicing that? Because that might just be a situation of them getting used to what the Hex is all about. Because I've noticed in a lot of the Hammertron games, they focus quite a lot on specific players in the give go sections. And although sometimes you see the full Hex in play with lots of people being involved, they sort of dominate. There's players that dominate it, and I think the other players tend to rely on that. So you see a lot of clustering of the other players, and then so for me, I think that they're still looking to work on the width, looking to work on the spacing, and also the trust within the team. And I think in the Hammertron mixtape game, I think the defense was a little bit easier, so it was easier for them to look better. But as soon as the defense is a bit tight, that trust seems to lose itself with Hammertron, and I think that shows. It's only when they start using the entire player base that you see good points, I think, in the later games.
Interesting.
I find trust in Hex is pretty important. From what I've noticed, as soon as like one or two things break down in the Hex and it stops working, then suddenly mentally, if you don't trust your teammates and the structure, then you just see the Hex just stops working as effectively as it should, and you start clumping up and you start multi-cutting into the same space. The communication becomes less apparent, and because you're so focused on getting the disc, you forget about your teammates in the game itself.
Yeah, you're trying to move the disc as quickly as possible, and if you don't trust a player to catch it or something like that, or if you don't trust a player to move in the right way, then suddenly you can't do that anymore, and you end up back in that sort of conventional ultimate style of just staring downfield and waiting for the best option.
Yeah, exactly. Or you just try big gains and big throws to try and get out of pressure.
I think some of these clips are also giving idea of like what the disadvantages of that are, right? Like turnovers where you have a miscommunication, or where you have somebody that's prioritizing moving the disc and was an open option if they just held it. Like, I mean, like I said, I haven't played Hex, I haven't coached Hex, but like holding the disc longer is not always a bad thing. I don't think that it should just be viewed as universally, you move the disc quicker, then it's better. Because sometimes you can see certain options are going to open up, and you can like hold the disc, get a bigger gain out of a certain throw. And I think there are examples of that in some of these clips where somebody, if they had held the disc for a second longer, could have just hit another or advantageous throw, and instead they're thinking, okay, I only need to move the disc, I need to throw it to somebody else, and it leads to this kind of rushed that can either lead directly to turnovers or just not put you in the best positions always.
And I think, so I definitely agree with that. I think part of it also is the falling back on the Hex fundamentals. So even if you're going to hold the disc, part of the best thing about Hex is faking the throw that you could have made or can't make or want to make to create the option for another one. Because I mean, with Hex, especially if people are not used to it, they're flustered on the mark, and they will bite hard to some throws. So if you do that, even if you just sit there with the disc, you're not getting you're gonna fall into the old style. But if you at least do a fake, you don't even have to be vigorous with your fakes. Just to wait and trust that there's gonna be another space opening up anyway. soon enough because of the hex style.
And I wouldn't say that is specific to Hex at all. I think most offenses rely on using their fakes to move defense or to communicate to cutters.
I agree. But this is one way where it can really help a lot, I think, just to move defense. So use that, I guess, offense 101 style when you're stuck.
I wonder if you are, when you coach, can you implement this idea of you either have a flow or you either have a static disk, and so you have an option for both situations. And if the players start to have this in mind, where okay, there is a flow, the flow is maintained, or now there is a static situation, even is a brick or is coming from a timeout, or just because there is no flow anymore. Now we play our basically initiation of the flow.
I wouldn't say that I've delineated it that much. A lot of teams that I've played and coached have relied on set plays of static situations just to sort of get some kind of flow going, even if it's not like a specific throw, but just like getting people moving in a way that's a little bit more predictable for the offense, so you can kind of know what your options are and read the field more quickly or more easily. Static situations, but I mean, I think a lot of the times, like when teaching, so when coaching at like college level, when it's a lot more of just like teaching people who are very new to the game, usually approach things from a static perspective first, just to like kind of view what the field looks like, and then start thinking about and talking about and drilling how does that change when the disc is moving, right? So like if you talk about a specific type of cut and then you say, okay, when would you use this cut in a game when the disc is moving, when the disc swings to this side, if you're this player, how would you approach your movement, that sort of thing.
Picks himself up, picks up the disc, gets it to Kelly Carter. Back to Vaughn Wilson. Michael Downey.
If anyone has any bits to say about previous clips or this clip, then just let me know and I can rewind and stuff. I'm quite happy to just keep playing through like this. There is a clip I want to show you which you're going to need sound for, actually, so people that are on Discord maybe get ready to switch over to the stream and maybe mute your Discord just for this one clip that I'm going to show. But yeah, this clip I'm going to show, it's deemed not turnover. It's deemed it that Reddit weren't ready for it, basically. Some of you might have seen it. But yeah, mute your Discords so we don't get feedback, please.
Hex has it. Hex doesn't have it now. Gets it back. USA moving it through Randolph. Johnson.
So we've got Yanuck dribbling, right, and it starts right from over here. And he's dribbling, and I was reminded of it because he said, "Oh, it's not, it's not always good for the disc to continue moving." And then it's moving, everything's good. He's got one option in front of him that you can't throw to. He turns around, and there's nobody like looking to get the disc, and it looks like his life just goes out of him. And then he makes another move to like recreate another option, and he's just turned away from again. So just one more time.
Yanuck, your new favorite player.
He's my new favourite player.
USA moving
I haven't seen him, but I'm definitely a fan.
Johnson.
When you say Reddit wasn't ready, you say they disagree with your analysis of this?
Yeah, even though there's no words, I think they would disagree with the analysis.
I think this actually kind of plays into Joe's point about holding the disc a little longer, because obviously, you know, he wants to keep the disc moving, but, you know, he sees that, you know, actually holsters it for a couple of seconds so those players can clear through. He's then got that inside-out lane through to Randolph open. I think.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So everything's all gravy when it's like stall 0, stall 0, stall 0, stall 0, stall 0, and then it's like he's thinking about that, he fakes it because the guy's there, and then he turns around and he expects this guy to be looking for the disc, but this guy's setting up. You know, he's not even looking. So then that's when he's just like, oh, there's nothing going on. Because he could just run away from his player and get a pass. But it's transitioned into different offense. So then he goes and he's like, right, I'm going to go and can't go up the line, so I'm just going to set up at the front of the stack. And he's like, literally, Yanuck's just waiting. He's like, okay, I guess I've got nothing to do for like 4 seconds. And then when they do set up and when you've got then the nice structure, then he's like, okay, now I'm free in this big space over here because the defenders are all marking 1-to-1. So then the life comes back into the screen and he throws the inside break, but he sets it up. He fakes his guy out so that he can go up the line. He's made himself free in the front corner with that fake. So he's seen the static situation and he's completely manipulated it to create a score, essentially. Hits that break, immediately is running. He's in the guy's line of sight and he's got his hand out. And not to mention the separation of the space.
He should go for the right-handed crab catch here so he can immediately unleash that thumber into space.
I mean, I think it's
not being on the same page.
Yeah, so he just needs to like that, right? Well, no, it'd be catch like that and then rip thumber that way. Okay, sorry, Joe, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's tough also because it's hard to avoid from both sides, right? To avoid extrapolating like a single event to say, well, you know, because this happened, so-and-so is bad, or like this should have happened. And so like to say, oh, he should have held the disc in a certain instance instead of trying to move it. Like it kind of just depends on what your bias is to begin with. I think it's one of the challenges of Ultimate, and especially I think even more so in defense, but a little bit on offense, is just like you can have the false positive or the false negative that can skew how you view a certain play based on the result, which might not even be related to that individual decision. It might not be as related.
I guess what Felix wants to try to say with this video is you see this instance time and time again where people just run away and say, all right, we're at this point on the field, get back into the end zone, we're going by playbook now instead of just playing intuitively.
I mean,
but I mean, like there are disadvantages to playing intuitively. Like it's more, especially on a team like that that's come together. You know, they've had like a few days of practices. Basically, like if you're over reliant on that, you can have more of those kind of miscommunication issues. I'm not necessarily trying to argue that it's universally bad or universally good. It's worth thinking about both sides.
Yeah, I see your point, fair enough.
I like maybe the second part where he doesn't look for that initial give go right on the end zone, but
exactly.
I mean the play kind of mentality where the guy sits down on he just doesn't look for the disc. I mean that's also a universal offense style. Just generally keep your head up so you can take an option if it's available. I mean, obviously, you want to be a bit more cautious on the end zone, get rid of those end zone goggles because that's can always be a thing, a rushed throw or whatever. But maybe if he had his head up, there could have been a completely different outcome in that situation, and it might have nothing to do with the hex itself per se. So it is both sides of the story, but also I mean.
Yeah, part of what made them such a good team was that they could play that real position into that, you know, here's a big break side isolation space, and, you know, with the idea of the false positive, you know, it's a beautiful break throw to Randolph, and it's, you know, that throw to Hecht, again, their separation, and it's not a bad decision necessarily. He just doesn't quite get the execution right. God, how did they catch that? That felt like it.
Yeah, that was mad.
You need to watch that on YouTube, I think. The pixels here are a bit too much for me. Very nice catch.
That was nice. I think that this point is worth kind of watching through again, because there's a lot of passes, and I was going to say, like, you know, we should talk about some of the cons of Hex. And everyone, the cons is like there are more passes involved, right? If you get your whole team trusting each other, and you know, if you get everyone experienced with taking the higher percentage decisions, then that becomes less of a problem than it is in other offenses, because generally the higher percentages are even higher percentage. But it's still a lot of passes, but they managed to work it around and get out of a couple of hairy situations and then calmly score.
I mean, this is the thing, you know, like, if you're making, you know, 95% passes, you know, your odds actually better than making 8 pass, whatever. I mean, I literally haven't done the maths, but, you know, there is a point, you know, of diminishing returns. You know? Like, you can only, you know, having these, you know, like, it's great to keep the disc moving, you know, have a lot of throws, but, you know, obviously, especially when the conditions are dodgy, you know, making more and more throws, there's an inherent risk, even if they're usually 100%, you know, 100% in inverted commas throws, because, you know, how many times have you seen wide open discs that just get turfed or dropped or whatever? Felix, are you sad?
Some opportunities to switch on.
Maybe that was a bit small, that Hex diagram. I was just gonna, Benji, what was the question? I
was going to ask, are you sad because of how far away everyone is?
Yeah, like I'd like them to be kind of around over here. I mean, I think it's hard to get a rope's perspective, but it's not that they're far away. It's also they're moving further away. Yeah, and this is the classic clear out, like head down, kind of clear out down through the middle and walking this way, rather than like walking this way. It's like, come on, like you got to take responsibility for the offense and make it happen over here.
Also, I think 2 or 3 throws before, he missed like a 20-meter gain. That there. I'm interested to see why that didn't go off. Because to me, she's wide open. Does he not trust his forehand? Is it windy? Because that there would have been perfect, almost.
I think maybe he's looking at the steep.
Should absolutely get.
Yeah, I mean he should be throwing that.
Just look at that shape. I mean, it's nice and wide. There's cuts set up, space created.
Yeah, and all this player can do is continue to be free, and she ends up surrounding the disc, but that's okay if you can definitely get the disc in your hands. But there's nothing else she can do. So he's created that situation because it was inefficient for her to go back, and then eventually he takes it. But then by this time, you know, if she'd got the disc down here, the shape would have been much better.
And if he's maybe thinking about that deep cut, he's got that in the corner of his eye. If he throws it to her, you know, she's maybe got a better chance of it because you've got the disc in motion. You've got the disc in motion. In motion a little bit more.
Yeah, take the open pass. So Edgar points out the primary principle of Hex offense.
You know, and generally, you don't want to be hucking from static positions.
And there's that classic situation where he gets it deep. He's come from basically last back. And all those other players were deep, but none of them seem to be ready. It's like a rush to catch up with him. I mean, they work out fine because he's obviously patient. But it's quite funny. He gets the disc, everyone's behind him, even though they see this massive cut. It's almost like they're like, "Ooh, look at this great cut. I'm going to watch this for a bit."
Yeah, they start moving, but yeah. And is that? I mean, they're quite deep, and like, yeah, the shape should be kind of back a little bit, but
it's like they go side stack isolation there.
there's nothing upfield for him. He looks around, he's waiting for support.
Okay, let's go through to the end of this clip and then watch the next one.
That just slipped through his fingers. He felt it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I felt it.
They've reverted to 3 at the back there for a second. Ooh. Awkward spacing. And the rhythm.
It's messy, isn't it? It's a bit messy.
Yeah, I mean those Brighton City clips we showed with the light blue t-shirts, it takes a while to get that kind of rhythm because those ones were like smooth flowing, and that's easy to like overlook. But it takes time to.
It definitely takes time. It takes experience. I mean, in many cases, maybe there's 1 or 2 people that have had any experience when you start coaching a team with this. If you're lucky, there's 1 or 2, I guess. When I started coaching this, I had no experience with it at all. So you know, like it definitely, and it failed. So we didn't do it, and then eventually I got a little bit of experience on it, and then I was able to see it slightly differently. It does help to have people that know a little bit more about it, and also just in general, because then you have someone that has a bit of trust, that has a bit of understanding, and can portray that to the rest of the team. So I think that for 1 season that they've done pretty good, I'd say.
The disadvantage of Hex is that you kind of maybe you need that chemistry a little bit more than you do with a vertical offense where it's you know here are big spaces, here's our order in which we cut, whatever. I guess this is like here's our ideas, just let's play it. You kind of need that trust and chemistry a bit more.
Yeah, well, need is one word, but like it also builds it. Like yes, it is teamwork and chemistry. Therefore, are a bigger part of the offense. So therefore, by training it, by playing it, you actually build that chemistry and you build kind of fundamental teamwork skills.
Yeah, arguably, if you've got all that trust in the vertical stack and the horizontal and any other L stack or whatever, you're probably going to lose a lot of that trust moving into Hex initially. You got to build it. I think it's not gonna just come from scratch. So maybe having some of that trust already and knowing what people like helps a bit. But then I think, like when you see Hammertron's earlier games, then you've got certain players that pick it up fast and you gain that trust with them. But then other players will lag behind a little bit or be more reliant on, okay, I'm just going to stay deep because I'm not comfortable coming forward yet. Coming back and getting the disc that much. Yeah.
But also don't forget that you're playing against a team at the same level, right? And so like if you actually have a team of beginners, and then you're playing, you got to assume you're playing against a team of beginners. So then it's like, okay, well, does this reliance on chemistry or whatever and taking lots of passes, is that actually a big negative thing for beginners? Or is it quite hard to play vertical stack as well when you're a beginner? Like when you're playing against those defenses, it's like a kind of a balanced situation. And in my experience, like Hex with beginners is absolutely fine. And if anything, if they play other sports, they have less to learn, far less to learn.
And when I was a beginner, everything was hard.
Yeah.
I think I speaking of beginner, Hex picking up easy.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done. Just commenting on Felix's comment.
Yeah.
Speaking about building the skill and how to start with X, I don't know if this is you can do this with adults, but what I did with my kids was actually, instead of starting with the shape and with the philosophy, I start with a skill. So we were playing a ton of 3v3, even 2v2, 4v4, a practice during programs. So they built that idea of decision making and generally quick movement and skill of throwing.
That's exactly how I introduced Hex to the local club team that I coach.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
Nice. I'm going to pop to the toilet. I'm going to let the footage run, and you've had an interesting question in the chat, so I'll leave that with you guys in Discord. Stream is in your hands for the next couple of minutes, and I'll be back.
Breaking through the containment of the zone.
Anybody want to tackle this one head on? Why the 2-3-2 formation is more space efficient than a standard horizontal stack?
It's a good question.
In the basis of it is it's based around kind of having these equilateral triangles. You know, it's the idea is that everyone is the same space apart from everyone else, and you've got that idea of balance, I guess. You're having that, and as well as that, it's giving you kind of options in multiple directions. And with like a traditional horizontal 3-4, when your downfield players get the disc, they've got nothing beyond them, and it can kind of stagnate. But generally, it's kind of based around that, just spreading players equally around the field.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see Hex as a 2-3-2. It's not a formation. It's a purpose shape, but it's not a. You don't set it up like that. You even rotate the shape, so it's in this perspective, it would then be a 1-2-1-2-1-0.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make much sense. Think in this term of 2-3-2.
I mean, from a basic setup, you know, generally that's often a starting point for it. But then, you know, things kind of shift around, like those little puzzles you used to get as a kid, where you slide the blocks around, you know, into space. I mean, right?
One of my teammates, when I asked her to do a coaching session on Hex, because I find that sometimes helps other players pick things up. She looked at orientation, and it made me think slightly different of how to approach Hex in a game. So obviously with vertical, you've got a vertical setup with your spaces either side of it. With horizontal setup, you've got your spaces. The way to look to Hex for me is more of an orientation, where you've got the disc and you've got people moving in a not moving, but set. Like if you're going to look at setup per se, it's that orientation of the hex shape moves as the disc moves. So it's not like a specific, as you say, it's not a 2-3-2 or 1-2-1-2-1. It's basically, it's more of it's different to me in the sense it's more of an orientation type setup, where you know the disc is now on the sideline at this angle, so the orientation of the setup of the players, or at least the shape that they should be looking to cut and create the triangles, has moved, and it moves every time you move the disc. So for me, it's more of an orientation structure versus a specific setup of places. And I thought that was an interesting way of kind of looking at it. I mean, obviously you do have orientation with the vert and the horizontal, but to me it sort of opened up a bit more of why the hex and the rotation is so important, both back and in front of the disc.
Yeah, that's a good connection.
I think it's important not to get too bogged down with the structure of hex.
Exactly.
And the real power in it is the movement. It's keeping the disc moving. It's making sure you've always got options in front of the thrower so that they can throw immediately after the catch. And if you think about that for long enough, eventually you come to the conclusion that the hex shape is the most efficient way of setting up that sort of play style. But the approach that I took when I started coaching it was to think about disc movement more than shape, and also to think about using these principles in zone offense rather than against match defense. And that way it's natural for players to spread out in the hex shape anyway. You don't need to try justifying it. It's just, this is a good way to position against the zone. Any zone, doesn't need to be any specific zone. And then from there you can just switch mentality and say, well, actually there's no reason why we can't play this against match defense as well.
Hopefully there, Jake, we've hopefully clarified it enough. not like bombarded with information. So short answer is like, oh my god, that was weird. A short answer is, you know, it's a great way of efficiently spreading it out because you've got those triangles and you're always connected. It's just that like it is kind of mathematically the most efficient way of spreading people out. But yeah, but then applying that, it's more about how you can using it as a base and then just getting movement and principles from there rather than keeping to a rigid structure.
Yeah, I mean, if I'd initially go answering that question to talk about just like nature, you know, like it's efficient. It's efficient distribution of players in the space. Like if you put 7 discs on the ground and try and put them together as close space as possible, then because they're circles, they form a hexagon. Because 6 circles fit perfectly around 1 circle. If you have like bubbles, equal sized bubbles, then when they clump together, they make triangles and hexagons. So it's kind of a nature thing. But that's a bit of an abstract answer, so I'm glad you guys answered it. And there's Hammertron winning there and getting bronze. Now we're back to Brighton. So there'll be a few clips here of Brighton versus Neo, who were like the top Scottish team at the time. I'm playing. This is me over here. It's quite a well-practiced Brighton team. This Neo are a good team as well, but I just couldn't get any purchase.
What happened to them?
I don't know. Play mixed.
They just ran out of players. They didn't really have any like new players coming into the team, and eventually that just left them with not enough players.
I guess a lot of players then went into play Glasgow.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, Scottish Ultimate's in a great place right now.
Them in their 4-year degrees.
Yeah.
I believe in all these clips, most of them, I don't see as many inverted pivot, and I think if player and team can really start to use them more, they will add even more trouble for the defense.
That's quite a nice way to start a point. You see that? So I pick up the ball, throw it across, throw it back. I look to the side, and because he's not free under, he clears, and the hat comes into that space.
I thought that was a deep rather than a hat coming through.
Was it a deep coming through?
I thought Hayden was in the hat there, and then he kind of odds off.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It doesn't have to be exact, does it? It's just good timing, good spacing. Surrounding the disc.
To your point, yeah, and about, you know, when Mannings gets it, he then immediately turns to look downfield. It's very much, at this point, it's very much, we'll get it, we'll look downfield.
Yeah, this is before the movement decision tree was drawn up. So that's the kind of look away there, whereas this defender could be punished for being that close, really.
When the defenders got into position. Very long face.
Yeah, the touch hooks are just the best. That's the hardest situation when picking up static on the sideline. Arguably harder in Hex than it is in other offenses as well. The advanced untested thing is to get everyone moving before the disc is picked up, so you can actually start your motion. Why not? Just don't deform the shape too much. You know, obviously it always deforms. Nice. Was that my throw? I hope so.
Yeah.
Rewind for a brag. Yeah. Nice. Flat.
I mean, anyone can bang it deep to Hayden, surely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a big target to aim for when Hayden's going deep. This is 2013, so this is early Hex against Free Speed. There was a lot of attention on this game, and we choked. But we had a couple of nice points.
This also has one of my favourite bits in Ultimate ever.
Yeah, if you can find that. No, it won't be in this video.
Ah, boo!
If you can find that on YouTube, then I'll play it at the end.
That's the thing.
Yeah, more, yeah. I see the pivoting stuff. Oh, Bruce turned it back to the camera. Okay, back to regional. This is just a very, very quick clip, I think. It's basically just a nice give and go. Let's just see it again very quickly.
Give go is not an inherently Hex thing, but obviously, if your offense is more predicated on that quick disc movement, it's going to be easier.
Oh, this is another one of those games where we were vibing.
Emo game again.
Yeah. I think we only turned over once in this game, and that's because someone threw it out the back of the end zone. Because they thought it was the front of the end zone. There may have been some external influences going on in their brain. Or internal, rather.
Clubhouse did a decent afternoon of business.
Sorry?
Clubhouse did a decent afternoon of business.
Yeah. Question in the chat from Stencil25. Is Hex all the way to the end zone? I guess
Yes,
end zone, not easy.
yes, big yes.
Yeah.
Interesting, because I know that I've certainly played it in the past where we did Hex towards and then we got to the end zone. Either we transitioned or we would actually calling it this, but I've done it where we've got near the end zone and then we've scoxed. We've put those two cutters then in the middle to try and force the defense to bracket or whatever. And usually, yeah, I would play it all the way.
Done drills where you have where you basically take the middle of the field out. You shrink the middle of the field down to the size of an end zone, and then you play a game there. So basically, you're always trying to score, and then getting the teams to stay in Hex. And so long as you keep your patience, then it's really hard to defend against. But it's very easy to lose your patience and just throw it in the end zone when you got players all spaced out in the end zone. And then Soko, the idea of moving the disc further away from the end zone to open up the huck, which is kind of based on the thoughts that you score either from a long throw or from flow. So if you flow and then you're too close for a long throw, then you flow backwards and then the long throw opens up. But that's that's theoretically great, but in practice not so successful. Just people not very comfortable throwing backwards. Loads of unforced errors.
Exactly. If you don't feel if you're too close to the end zone, you can move the disc all the way to midfield, back to the midfield, and start again.
It's an easy thing to practice, though.
Yeah, that is really, really good fun to practice. So. That's a nice flowing point. Cool, we're going to get through all this footage, and then we'll have if people are up for it, we'll have a little vote whether we do this today or on Friday. But I want to look at every single huck from USA versus Japan 2016. I just feel like doing that. That just sounds like fun, doesn't it? So I've got the footage.
That sounds fun. I need to lead though, so thank you everybody.
Cool. Well, thanks. See you on Friday. We got Brian Jones on Friday.
Ooh. Well.
For what, part 3 of 8?
Exactly, yeah. Bravo versus Revolver continued.
Filming this.
I think I end up holding the disc for quite a long time. What did you say, Benji?
No, I've been filming this, so.
Yeah, you were filming this. Yeah, I think you were. Push past days. Standing with an umbrella in front of the camera. Yeah, throw the hammer over the umbrella. Nice. Very thoughtful. What do you think? Is it time for me to give Rue some biscuits?
It's time for you to give Rue some biscuits.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll open the drawer and you'll see her be like, "Oh my god, biscuits time!" I think she's actually popped a little ear up because she can hear me say biscuits loads. And then when she jumps up on the desk, I'll go down. How did I catch that? Wait, so that I come under in the middle here. Oh, and the guy's right there, but I reach in front, and then pull my arm back out around. So then after Rue comes up onto my desk, I'll go get the camera and bring it back up so you can see her. That was a nice point. Okay. Alright, it's Rue time. Here we go. Rue, biscuits. So quick. Hello. Or maybe I feel like I should give her. Yeah, jump up. Oh, she is. Is he the noise that she made? I'll give her one here just so she doesn't get. Oh no! How did she do that? That wasn't me. I think she must have hit something on the. I think she must have hit something on the keyboard then. She was like, "That's enough streaming, Felix. Time for biscuits." Okay. I'll go get the other camera. Okay, Rue.
Adorable.
This time is not over. God, too much going on. I almost got my water as well. Rue. Right, if I move this here and then stand on the laptop, please. Yeah, that's good. And then we can do the classic of Rue eating the biscuits down by the camera. There you go. Oh, it's too close. It's too close. A little bit of Rue eating biscuits down there. A little bit of her standing up, maybe. Oh, ow, ouch. Yeah, Rue, stand up. Stand up. Yeah, stand up. There we go. And she just wants to grab my arm. There we go. Okay, and then more down by the camera. Just a few more, Rue, and then we're going back to the non-stop hex. Oh, she did it again. She moved the mouse, did some stuff. Okay, all right, back to the footage. Hope you guys enjoyed that segue intermission.
Intermission, yeah. Maybe not a full intermission, maybe a little interlude.
we lost 3 viewers, so I don't know. maybe it's not the most popular thing. So we make up permanent Rue cam.
Maybe they're dog people.
Cool. So it's a nice cozy stream we've got going on now. Good old-fashioned Rue break. Yes, AJ. Well, this is GB Mixed under 23, 2015.
Against India?
Yes, against India.
Wearing the wrong shirts because they hadn't arrived in time?
Yeah. Is that right? It looks like we're wearing nice shirts.
Yeah, they were like previous. They were like a previous iteration of spares.
Right, and we borrowed
them. Wrong shirt numbers.
Yeah, there was a problem getting the shirts through customs or something, right?
Yeah, I
seem to remember.
GB Open managed to get them for the show game on the first day.
There's so all of these GB under 23, 2015 mixed games. Nice catch, Mazen. Are on the internet, right? But the filming is like this, so it's not great. But there's a lot of untapped footage there. Like, I haven't really gone through all those games. There's me coaching them. Yeah, so there's loads of hex footage there. Oh, here we go. This is like old school stuff.
Oh, this is proper old school hex.
Yeah. So my aim with this is like we'll go through. Oh, Rue's gone. You just got my hexagon curtains. We'll go through like this footage. There's like a few minutes left. And then over the next like few weeks, we'll like gather together different clips of different teams playing hex from all around the world that's like more modern, and we'll just compile another one of these, compile another non-stop hex like clip thing, and then have another group hex at some point in a couple of weeks or a few weeks or whatever. Right, I'll go find Rue and get her back on camera.
Well, I've forgotten that compiles kit used to look like that.
What's that, Luke?
I'd forgotten that compiles kit used to look like that.
I forgot what Capal's kit looks like now. When Brighton make national semi-finals.
It's interesting that they jammed it into the front corner there, rather than going back.
Jamming in the jam hole always works. Just need to jam it hard enough. As we say, these were the early days of Hex, you know. At this point, we weren't SOCOing as much.
Yeah. And, I mean, Clapham gave Brighton the space, so why not? I feel like it should be possible to get just really good at jamming in the front corner. Like, get really consistent at it.
On board.
But yeah, I've always been skeptical of like actually training it. But I guess if a few years of playing Iron Fives with you, Benji, maybe we'll get somewhere. Maybe we'll have some techniques.
Make that our designated end zone play, just like someone stand right in front, in the jam hole.
Well, only if the Iron Fives pitches are as small as they were last year.
No, regardless of the size of the end zone.
But it's easier to practice if the pitches are really narrow and the end zone is really small. Then the number of reps of jamming it in the front just increases dramatically. That's my point. So we'll get more practice at it if we play that tournament than just jam it in the front. Because you couldn't really do anything other than jam it because the end zones were so narrow. Anyway, we're supposed to be talking about this footage, but...
I mean, we are. There we go.
See that step I did? It's like lingering on the bullet.
Yeah. Good balance, I guess.
Yeah. Stand on one foot.
There's lots of not very effective faking going on.
Again, it's that classic. Oh, actually, Jack does very good, but it's let's move it, and then we're looking downfield. Other than let's just keep it moving.
There's not much dribbling going on. Oh, good body check.
Yeah. So I think in the early days we didn't really think about dribbling. Like that wasn't really a thing. It was more just like a big picture kind of offense. And the flow wasn't, not too bad from time to time like that. It generally didn't make us play any worse, and when it worked well, it worked really well. But yeah, dribbling wasn't a thing in it yet.
Yeah, the desk movement was good. Like the stall's not getting above 3 very often, but the stall's also going above 1 and above 2 quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's not much. Yeah, Yeah, you said it already. There's not much dribbling, but there's not much like This
it's flow, but it's not dribbling.
Yeah. The flow facilitated by the number of options because of the spread offense rather than the actual like movement decision tree type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got a new viewer. I've been watching it like go down from like 39 down to 12. Welcome, new viewer. I think maybe the footage I put together was like way long. All right, there we go. This is the end of the footage. Perfect timing.
Made it.
we made it through the first batch of non-stop hex.
Knows how to play hex.
Yeah. So how did you guys find this stream? Do you think it's something we should do like again? What would you change? How would we do it a bit differently?
I really enjoyed it. It was really good having people from literally all over the over the place experiences kind of coaching it, because that's the side of it that I don't have. I just like to talk. But, I actually found that really interesting. I certainly learned a lot from everyone else, and it's good as well that people have different experiences of it. We've got people like me who've just played it a little bit, people like Lou who've coached it, and then we had people like Joe earlier who hasn't really had that side of it that much. So it's good to get that other perspective of it as well.
Yeah,
a perfect hex.
I think maybe like I rewound the footage a bit much at the beginning. Anyways, thank you everybody for joining. It's been, you're obviously the reason why it kind of happened. Because I don't want to sit in front of the stream for hours talking about hex and like answering all the questions and stuff. And it's way more useful for other people as well to kind of like to answer those questions, because everyone's perspective is different and the way that everyone learns is different. So yes, thank you. I think we've got just Noah, Luke, and Benji on for the end. So thank you all three of you for joining, and everyone else that was here earlier.
And being in the same time zone.
Yes, and time zone helps a lot. What we're going to do now is, I know what we're going to do. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll leave this stream for free on YouTube, just as like an interesting like watching hex and not me talking about it. What we're going to do though is Noah is putting together like a charity Rocket League tournament, and I've got to test out my like streaming Rocket League abilities. So I think that's what we're going to do. I wanted to do the Japan USA Huck thing, but I think that's better saved for Friday, when we've got more people who can maybe come in and join for that. And we haven't been streaming for like 2.5 hours because that's taken it out of everybody. So I'd quite like to just kick back and play some Rocket League and try and get the stream working for the charity tournament, which is coming up July 25th. Stay tuned to hear more about that.
This is nothing like 9 games in a day before.
Yeah, as a commentator, yeah, Benji's done like the longest like stints solo commentating for like days on end. Ridiculous. Nobody guessed where my hat came from. Do any of you know?
Where did it come from?
It's a film.
I have no idea.
USA Japan Friday, yes.
The film.
Back to the Future Part 2.
Oh, I thought it was Back to the Future, but I couldn't remember it from Part 1, so I didn't suggest it. I don't think I've even seen Part 2.
Part 2 is the best part.
I passed my driving test on Back to the Future Day, the day they went forward to in Back to the Future.
Nice.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Beginning and ending with facts that no one needed to know.
Okay, we have... I'll try and put this in a place where you can all see it. So on the stream on Friday, we've got Brian Jones, Bravo versus Revolver, the never-ending saga. We got confirmation from Miranda Roth-Niles that she's very keen on joining for a stream. So we are deciding on what kind of game we want to look at, deciding with the patrons in Discord. And and then that might be next week. I've asked her what time she's free and stuff. Shout out to everyone in the Beehive. Got my brother, my mum, dad, and Milan, and then Valerio, who you heard earlier, and then all the root here. A lot of you were on the chat. In fact, it's fantastic having you guys support. I couldn't do it without you. And then all the bees. It's my nephew. So big shout out, everybody! Look at all that support. That's awesome. It makes me feel warm inside. Almost as warm as when somewhere in the world plays Hex. Yeah, we had Andy last week. All these are on YouTube, and then some of them are on Patreon. Now there's a poll that I want to show you. Right, there's a poll for what kind of content you want to see more of. Okay, so I think you can see it here. Okay, so what kind of content do you want to see more of? This is on the YouTube community page. I'll just post the link to that. And you can see you can vote on different types of content. Which do you like seeing most on Felix Ultimate? Yeah, so like the live streams looks to be very unpopular at the moment. I'll try and like refresh this. Probably just needs to be refreshed.
I think it's probably because you're doing 2 live streams a week, and people just want to see a more variety of content.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, this was a different live stream. So live stream is not very popular. It looks like quick 2 to 4 minute analysis videos. Yeah, I thought that'd be popular. People's attention spans, you know. You can't criticize what people want. So that's cool. Making quick minute analysis videos is fun. So it looks like I'll be doing more of them. In-depth ones, 27%. So that's actually quite close. Themed analysis. Oh, I thought that'd be quite popular. Like following one player, like, you know, Bansfield's 13 touches. Bansfield's backhand breaks. Dylan Freechild's impact. Every turnover, all goals. All the instructional videos, they're equally as popular. There's a how to play flex coming out soon, which is quite the project. Edgar, the stream on Friday will have to be 5, I think, or maybe 4:30, because Brian Jones is only free at lunchtime, and then it'll be after that we do USA Japan with patrons. USA Japan Hucks will just be, I'll be chopping them out and finding them, and we'll just look at them as patrons and chat about them after the stream. Okay. Let me check my little checklist that I've got. I've fed Rue biscuits. Yep, check.
It's worth pointing out that you can only vote for one option on that poll.
Oh, right.
So it's not the most like
scientific,
representative method of polling.
Yeah, especially because it says what do you want to see more of. Like who's gonna want to see like a third live stream? You know,
yeah,
they might be like, no, you got just the right number of live streams. Yeah, good point. Okay, yeah, Friday Bravo Revolver with Brian Jones. Post stream now Rocket League, checking that I can actually stream it at a good frame rate and make it watchable. So maybe we'll see some 1v1s with me directing or something. Brilliant. Thank you again for joining the analysis chat, the Discord chat. Luke and Benji Noah. Thank you all the viewers for joining. Thank you Rue for sleeping through most of the see her ear. She turned her ear when she heard her name. For sleeping through most of the stream, Rue. That's fine. And yes, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been kind of enlightening. Anyone that's watching this in the future, hopefully this sheds some light on what Hex kind of looks like, and it's really valuable having different people's perspectives on like why it works, what the problems are, why it doesn't work, or like the pros and cons, and taking questions from everybody. So I hope this has been a useful video for kind of future generations. Really, thank you all for joining, and I will see you again soon.
Oh yeah. Yes, you're good. Oh yeah.